What's up, guys? This video is part 2 of the solar series that we're doing here at Leadbase. I've spent my hard-earned money testing out some solar ads with text verification on the Meta lead forms. It's kind of a new thing that they've launched in the past 30 days, and we're going to check out the results. I've spent $228.31 of my own money here, which could have bought me a lot of $8 Bass Pro Shop hats, but I spent that money on you guys so that you could see what works. And we've got some really good results here. If you watched the last video, then you'll see that I ran a kind of a scientific split test between different ad creatives. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how I would go about scaling that campaign. So if you haven't seen that already, it's a few videos back, and we'll link it in the description of this video as well, so you can see how I set this up. But if you're in solar or you're just doing lead gen in general, this is going to help you understand maybe some different ideas for creatives that work. And so let's jump on the computer. Let's look at how much money I spent on each of these leads. I did generate 13 leads for $17.56. So I just gave it away. But let's see which ads actually worked here, guys. And I'll see you on the computer. All right. I ain't no Bass Pro, but I know how to fish for leads. All right. Just kidding. I actually love fishing in real life. I go to the Vetter River, which is about 30 minutes from my house here in Vancouver, and I catch salmon, which is very fun and very tasty. That's one of my hobbies, in case you didn't know that. I like catching leads. I like catching fish. Okay, guys, so we've got a test here. My jokes are so bad. We've got a test here for solar, and yeah, it actually worked out really well. We got some leads. We got 13 leads for $17.56. That is Canadian dollars, so it's about $12 US, which I think is really strong for solar. I know leads in Canada, as far as I've seen, they're cheaper than the US. But some of these, I think, some of these tactics worked out really well. And so in the last video, I showed you how I like to set up a campaign with ads, separate ad sets for each creative. Oops, I don't want to go to billing and payments. Don't look. Separate ad sets for each creative. I'm just sorting by results here. So if I click on Revid 1, which is an ad I made on Revid, obviously, I go here, and I could see that I have one ad copy here. One ad creative and then one ad copy. And I kind of mixed and matched my ad creatives and ad copies based on what actually just worked well with the video, because I tried a few different hooks and offers. So you see copy 6 here. I saw copy 0 on the other one. Let's see what this one is. Copy 6 again. So I choose some of my favorite copies. This is 10 different ads. You could do a bigger split test than this depending on what your budget is. You could drop the budget of the ad set a little bit and test more variations. It is that it's kind of up to you, and you get to test what you want to test based on what your budget is. And so let's take a look at some of what worked here. Actually, before that, I'm going to show you what I would look for if I didn't get leads. So let's say you set up this test for solar and you didn't get any leads. You spent, $200 or whatever, and that was your test. And you're like, oh no, I didn't get any leads. And you're sad and upset and you're crying. Okay. It's okay. You ran a test and you've got some data to work with. And that's the best thing about running tests this way, is that even if you didn't get leads, you're going to have the click-through rate to look at, and you're going to be able to see what's resonating with people who are clicking on this ad. And it's not a waste of money to do this, because you actually now understand, okay, I have 0.8% here, which isn't very strong, this ideogram 1 or Canva 2, but I have 2% here. I have 1.3. Those are much stronger. 2%, like that's more than double this, right? So you're getting twice as many clicks on this ad. And that also results in a lower cost per click as well. Does that always translate to leads? Not necessarily, but it's also pretty early in this test. And running $10 a day isn't really about optimizing the cost per lead, because if we want to actually optimize this campaign, we want to be spending more like, $40 to $50 per day on an ad set, so that Facebook actually has the ability to kind of mix and match the ads that it thinks are going to work, and then bid properly in the auction to optimally spend this money. My rule is that I always want to spend at least double on an ad set level what I think a lead is going to cost when I'm in the scaling phase. And so that would mean if I think leads are going to round out at about 10 to $15, I'd want to spend at least 30 so that I can get 2 leads per day when I actually do put this into one single ad set, which would be the next step of this. So step 1 is testing like this in separate ad sets. Step 2 is picking the winners, which I would we'll talk about what the winners are, but I'd probably argue the top 3 here are the winners. They're all over 1%. And then the top 2 have really good lead costs, even though their CTR isn't quite as strong as this one here. But it is still an early test too. Like if I get one more lead here, all of a sudden I'm at, $12 and I'm in a pretty good spot. So, again, if you didn't get any leads on your initial test, that's fine. What I would do with this is, if I didn't get any leads, I would go and look at the click-through rate, and I would pick the top click-through rates. Now, this isn't perfect because, again, I might actually turn this one off, even though it actually did get 3 leads. But you could also look at the cost per click here. But at the end of the day, all these ads are actually working quite well. So what I would maybe do if I was going to pick based on the CTR is I would probably go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are my winners. Depending on what your cutoff is, you could say that this one is over 1, so you'd keep this. All you would do is just turn off these that aren't performing. You know, turn off anything under 1%, and then continue to run this for another 24 hours. So I kind of let this run for 48 to 72 hours, and then each day I turn off anything under 1%. I check if I have leads, and I continue to scale. And then after about 5 to 7 days, what I would do is take my winners and I'd put them in their own ad set. And that's basically the tactic we use to go from testing to scaling. And then I would just repeat this process. I would always be testing new creatives and new ideas, and then I'd be taking those winners and putting them into a scaling ad set. So if I were to take these as winners, I would put these 3 into their own new ad set with their own budget and let Facebook decide which one is the best and which one is the winner. I would also still keep this campaign on, assuming I have budget and assuming it's getting leads like this. So in this case, I'd probably actually, if I was delivering leads to clients, keep all of these on and then slowly start to turn ones off that don't get leads. Because once you start to get consistent leads, you can start to look at your cost per lead as your kind of KPI as opposed to CTR. Click-through rate, and by the way, that's link click-through rate, not CTR all. We don't want to look at this. We want to look at link click-through rate. This is the metric we use before we get leads. And then this is, we can not ignore CTR, but once we're getting leads, we really care about cost per result. And so I would, continue to run these 2. I might still run this because it has a really good CTR and I think it shows some promise. But let's take a look at the individual ads here. So I did link all these ads in the previous video, so you can go back and look at them. This one is, that's funny that I literally cut it off and it still worked. Because I think on most things you can't even see the captions. Still got $8 leads, so I'm sure we could definitely improve on that. We've got a bill here. We've got, again, kind of just like a VSL with Revid. That's one of the winners there. 6 leads is pretty good. We've got this Canva that says current solar incentives in Canada. So you could do the same thing in the US, obviously, or whatever country you're in. Yeah, this one crushed really hard. Just very, very kind of benefit focused. Just offer stacking 3 leads for $8, pretty strong. And the click-through rate is lower, but there's a little bit less intrigue in this ad, so it kind of makes sense. Because with the Revid, it's like, ooh, could you qualify for this thing? And people are like, let me see if I do. With this one, we're kind of saying, here's all the stuff. Do you want it? And so the people that are clicking here, I think would be quite motivated based on the fact that they have a bit more information. And let's see, captions 2 was this walking guy.
Your next energy bill is one storm away from disaster while your neighbors watch their bills drop. Winter's coming, and we all know what that means. See another $300 spike from hydro.
And so I could see why this one would have a pretty good click-through rate too, because again, it's kind of just intriguing based on what this guy is saying. Like people are like, okay, what's this for? What are we talking about here? So all these ads are very different, which is cool. And that's why it's important to test out different styles. Like obviously you can see here, one Revid worked, one Canva worked, one captions worked. Ideogram didn't work as well, although there is some decent click-through rates on these Ideogram ads. Like I've got this one. Obviously there's a lot less going on, in terms of the story I'm telling in the creative versus the other ones. Like the videos obviously tell more of a story. The Canva has a lot of information there. Which ones didn't work? Let's see. 0.83, 0.84. These ones have not as strong click-through rates and higher cost per clicks. So this one, I like this one. Didn't work that well. It's too, fake and corporate-y looking. That's fair. And then this one, slash your power bill, tap an exclusive local rebates, increase your home's value. So not as powerful as the other Canva ad that had the stacking and the incentives there. And then something else you can consider too is when you look at these is the cost per click is going to be important, because if, let's say, this top ad here had 15 clicks and 6 of them converted, that's almost that's a 40% conversion on the landing page. So if I have a $3.50 cost per click. You can do the math on what's this going to cost long term. If let's say that shakes out at 33% is your conversion, you're going to times this by 3, and that's going to be your cost per lead. So it's always something to consider there. If this is $6, well, I have to convert now much higher to get the same cost of lead per lead as this one. If I start converting 1/3 of these, they're also at $6. So you can also, kind of do some math on, how it's going to shake out in terms of your cost per lead there. But yeah, guys, this is basically just a quick review video on kind of showing you what works here. Definitely recommend Revit. I've been seeing it work like crazy lately. And then let's just review the form here quickly. So this is the one where I did require SMS. They go through. I am going more volume, but then in the questions, they are not autofill, which is nice. So I guess the only thing I don't have here is the fact that, I obviously didn't call these leads. If you want to call these leads, comment on this video and I'll give you these leads, assuming you can prove that you're a real human being who's willing to call them and just see if they're legit. And then we can report back because I don't have time to call them. I guess I could have my assistant call them, but, didn't really get around to that because that would be really interesting. Obviously with lead forms, getting leads isn't always too much of a challenge, but actually getting quality leads can be difficult. So if you want these leads, comment below and we can chat. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the little update video there. And I'll be doing some more niches and testing with my own hard-earned, cold, hard Canadian cash, which is basically monopoly money to you Americans and to everyone else in the world because it's rainbow colored. But thanks for watching, guys. And as always, join the free Leadbase School. We've got lots of fun stuff going on in there. I am doing, I guess you just missed it if you're watching this video because it's posted next week. I just did a free training. I'm doing another free training as is Ryan B in June. So you're going to want to get access to that free training. We are filming a brand new free course that you're going to be able to see in Leadbase Free. And we just launched Leadbase Pro's Evergreen Funnel Method, which is by far the best thing we've ever put out. That is in Leadbase Pro, and you can only get access to Leadbase Pro by joining Leadbase Free first, and you can learn about it there. So thanks for watching, guys. Join the 3,000 other people in Leadbase Free at the bottom of this video, and go watch the first solar video if you haven't already.